folks, welcome back to the Law and Crime Network. I'm Michel Bryant with you for the afternoon session. Paula Notari is back. Every Monday we're here, it seems. It's kind of like a regular thing.
Such a good time. I wanted to come back.
So did I. And we are deep in the Florida case against Christopher Vasata, but the jury is on a break right now. Some incredible testimony there this morning, which we will get a chance to kind of replay from the key witness in that case. And don't forget that we are still following, out of California, the Charles Merritt case. Remember, I missed the end of last week, so I've been gone a week, but I can count on two things. The Merritt case is not over, and they're on a break. Those are the two things you can count on most days. As you recall, Charles Chase Merritt found guilty of 4 counts of first-degree murder for the deaths of Joseph McStay and his family, and now the jury is in the penalty phase deliberating whether or not to put this man to death. And it's just dragging on. So the drama, I kind of think there's maybe an 8th Amendment violation against cruel and unusual punishment. The guy's guilty. Now he has to keep waiting and waiting for the jury to come to a decision on the death penalty. That's going to get back to work tomorrow, so that jury is off today. In the meantime, we are in Florida for this Vasata case, and our own Rachel Stockman gives us kind of the groundwork for this case.
Super Bowl Sunday 2017, 3 young adults gunned down at a backyard party, a local Florida community shaken.
There were just shots fired in our neighborhood.
A neighbor called 911.
Don't go outside. There was a bunch of gunfire. Somebody please call an ambulance or call 911.
Was it this man, Christopher Vasata, found by deputies shot and bleeding on the side of the road after the murders?
He became a suspect fairly early in the investigation.
He was charged and faces trial for 3 counts of murder and 1 attempted murder charge. But in a jailhouse call, Vasata claims he was actually framed by police. The only surviving eyewitness could be key to the prosecution's case, but he's behind bars himself.
He just said somebody came in their backyard and started shooting.
Watch live gavel-to-gavel coverage of this trial coming up on the Law and Crime Network. I'm Rachel Stockman for Law and Crime.
And thank you, Rachel. So you heard Rachel mention the surviving victim. I put victim in quotes. You can come to your own conclusions here. This is Charles Verpagel. Yes, no Smiths and Jones in this case. Charles Verpagel. Let's listen to some of his testimony from earlier today. Again, he is an alleged victim. He was in the house. He was renting the house when all of this happened. So there is Charles. I don't know if anybody calls this guy Charles. He looks like more like a Charlie or a Chuck. Verpagel. He's the guy that was renting the house when this party turned into the OK Corral shootout. Paula Notari is here. First question I have for you is this. Okay, we have our own vision of what a Super Bowl party might be. I'm hearing all this testimony. I'm hearing all the fire pit, the 4 of them around the fire pit, and these guys come in with guns. Where's the Super Bowl part of this get-together? It sounds to me like it's the normal, let's have a bunch of drugs and drink and go hang out at the fire pit day. This is a normal day for this guy. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you know, just looking at this case, when you first look at a case, you get a quick read as a defense lawyer, and for me, this case for the defense is a problem because you've got motive, you've got direct evidence, you've got direct witnesses, and you've got forensics. So, you know, I mean, and you've got the timing of this guy Vasata's arrested, or he's stopped right there bleeding moments after the shooting. You know, the forensics tie the keys to his car. Everything sort of ties up in this nice little neat story that makes perfect sense. It's a drug deal, something related to drug dealers, and it's gone bad.
So this guy, I mean, do we believe anything he says, Verpagel, because he's a 4-time convicted felon? He's got a lot of interests to protect here, even though he's in prison. Number one, he's trying to get a better sentence under that Rule 35 federal rule that says you can help the government and then ask for a reduction in your sentence, so that's bad. He's got other drug and gun running connections out there. Who knows? He may be protecting his life going forward by pointing the finger at the right person or excusing the behavior of the right person.
Juries believe cooperators. I just had a case with 7 of the biggest lying cooperators. One could not tell a straight story, and the jury, and this particular guy, I mean, I think it comes down to whether Vasata's story makes sense and whether they can put any meat on that story, and this alternative that Vasata came to the scene to be a peacemaker, whether they can really make that story fly with the jury, because right now I see this witness's story as making sense.
So despite all of the negatives for this witness, I kind of think he's a wolf in sheep's clothing. I really think he comes off as this kind of normal guy. Poor me, I'm a victim. I go to the hospital in shock after this event. Dude, you're a gun runner and a drug smuggler and a drug dealer. Why are you, this should be nothing to you. This is, are you really in shock? So is he playing up this victim status?
I think he is, but I think in the end, I think the jury is going to look at the corroborating evidence. We see that in a lot of the trials where we've been looking at, and on this station, and they ultimately look at the corroboration. So they're going to want to see like the timeline. They're going to want to see, if the phone calls or the forensics, the things that were recovered at the scene, to see if they corroborate his story.
Okay, so obviously, I've decided I don't like the guy, and there's a big burden for me to overcome to start to believe him. So the jury, luckily, is the one making that decision. Now, if that's not enough, there's the third person. There's the guy, when I listen to this testimony, I'm thinking of the movie Usual Suspects, and the guy that never materializes. He's fake, he's fictional. Nobody knows who this third person is. Let's hear about this third person in testimony from earlier today. So there's Charlie Verpagel, and to me, this guy is like the risky business dude. He's like, hey, you need some drugs? Gotcha. Need some guns? Gotcha. 4-time convicted felon? Not a problem. I don't believe anything the guy says. I just think he is a little too slick. Paula, you've seen a little of his work. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm just watching him, and I'm getting, his demeanor, he's just holding back. There's something more going on that the jury, I'm troubled.
You're troubled, yes.
I'm troubled.
Okay, that's a good way to
Yeah,
start.
So I think I'm starting to switch sides here. I think that
Here's something that concerns me too. We haven't talked much about the victim. Sean Henry, 26 years old, seems to have been involved somehow. We're not sure in the operation there. Good friend of this witness. But then you have the two girls, Brandy and Kelly, 24 and 20 respectively, that appear to be collateral damage. They're all sitting around this fire pit. Somebody comes in shooting left and right, and the three dead people have multiple gunshot wounds, and this guy has nothing.
I defend a lot of drug gang cases, and you see this kind of stuff very typically. What I'm troubled by is it seems like there's going to be a lot more to this story than any of us know, and sometimes the prosecutors hold on to the evidence and the better theories or the real theories, the truth, because they have it in their minds what happened. And this is a death penalty case. I mean, we're trying to put this guy, kill him, and I think that we really need one solid theory here beyond a reasonable doubt, and I'm not seeing that.
Okay, you think the prosecutors are holding something back?
Well, I don't think I think there's something called confirmatory bias. It's a phenomenon where prosecutors, very early on in a case, they decide their theory and they sort of latch onto it, and they don't consider alternative theories, and that, I think this case might be one of those cases.
Okay, spoken like a defense attorney. Okay, I got you. Okay, we're going to come back to that case. Remember, Florida versus Christopher Vasata. The jury is on a break right now. As soon as they get back into action, we will take you into that courtroom. So stay right where you are. So there is some of the cross-examination of the wolf in sheep's clothing. Charles Verpagel. This is a guy who is now admitted under oath, hey, we were going to try to kill the guy. He was kind of a competitor, and there was kind of a beef over some of the drugs that were involved between us. So let me ask my guest here. Paula, what do you think about that element of his testimony, that he just nonchalantly said, yeah, we wanted to off this guy?
Yeah, I mean, for me, that whole moment was just a game changer. I thought that was extremely effective. I think that he's now an admitted murderer. There's not all drug dealers are murderers, and he
he wanted to be a murderer.
Well,
I mean, it didn't happen.
He's just admitted that he premeditated murder, and he's a guy who's got. So now anything's possible. As a juror, I'm thinking anything's possible. This guy is lying. We don't know. There could be a million reasons. He was trying to kill, the people who were involved in this, and that's a game-changing moment. Okay,
I'm sure the jury is listening intently to this kind of stuff. Let's listen to more of the cross-examination of Charles Verpagel. There's Charles Verpagel. It's a good chance his testimony will be pivotal to what this jury ultimately decides. And we've been tossing around the concept of believability, credibility, what was really going on that night, because it's certainly far from from Clear. Paula Notari is with me. And one of the things I always wonder about this guy is, and he's testifying about really this Luke Kasoukas as the real bad guy. Luke Kasoukas had no DNA found anywhere in all of the discovery, all the forensics we've already heard about. His name doesn't come up anywhere, whereas some of the other players do. How important will that be to the jury, that they can't tie Vasoukas to any of the evidence?
Well, as I'm starting to watch this, I really am having so many problems with the prosecution's theory. I don't believe this person. I think he's now said he had a motive to be murdering someone, and I just think a lot of things went really wrong on this particular night. And so anything missing in terms of forensics is going to be important evidence that the jury is going to be looking for, because they have forensic evidence. I mean, this is the kind of case that you expect forensic evidence, because there were so many things recovered. There was a crime scene, and
gloves and guns
yes,
and bullets
so
and
this
shell
was not
casings.
something that happened out in the desert, or something, where bodies were dug up, years later. This was a real crime scene. So you really do expect that kind of forensic evidence.
And at this point, again, maybe it's a red herring, this Luke Vasoukas, yeah, that guy. Maybe he's just to distract the jury.
You've got some difficult names, for sure.
It's really unbelievable. They're all tied in there. Anyway, this is the Christopher Vasata case, and we'll continue to discuss it. In just a moment, though, we're going to come back and talk about something. We haven't talked about an old guy getting pleasured in a massage parlor in a while. So, hey, we'll catch up on the Kraft situation when we come right back to Law&Crime.